Hello and welcome. My name is Erin, and this is Fluoratonic YouTube. And today I will be playing Ciconia When They Cry, Phase 1. So obviously, if you look at my YouTube channel and it's empty, I haven't really done anything like this before. Um, but I really have been wanting to play this game. I really have been wanting to do fun voices for this game. But if I do it this way, I'm talking to you guys and not myself. So I thought maybe it would be fun. It'll probably be pretty low tech. I'm screen recording, you know, as you do, but I I don't know about the production quality, but I'll do my best. And what else is there to say? I have played Umineko and Higurashi. I would probably, from what I've heard, I think it's recommended that if you're getting into this game, it might be a more enjoyable experience to have knowledge of those other games under your belt, and I think they're really good. So if you haven't played them, maybe go do that. I would recommend, and I'm definitely inspired by Nezumi VA's playthroughs on YouTube, archived live streams. Her videos are how I originally got into the series, so definitely recommend those if you want another audio way to consume the story. But I digress. Yeah, I might be fumbling through it a little bit, but I will do my very best for you. And I'm excited to get started. So let's unmute and get started. To fly freely at the speed of sound like a fighter jet. To fearlessly withstand all attacks like a tank. To wield the weaponry of a fortress, a warship. What if all these superpowers were compressed into the left arm of a single soldier? I'm not talking about some sort of comic book hero. What you're looking at is the next generation of soldiers who will defend world peace. The Aerial Augmented Infantry, otherwise known as the Gauntlet Knights. This elegant gauntlet, worn on the left arm and reminiscent of medieval knights, contains all the weapons and technology humanity has given birth to thus far. It controls all of the 8MS in their bodies and the surrounding air, enabling them to free themselves from the laws of the surface world and surpass them. AOU. The video showed a lone boy soldier wearing a gauntlet on his left arm, standing on a massive airstrip. A whistle blew, and his body floated upwards about 10 centimeters. He literally was floating. Cutting-edge 8MS techniques made it possible to create and control force fields, releasing his body from gravity. The whistle blew again, and his floating body danced like a bird, flitting about the space over the airstrip at will. Gauntlets give soldiers the same mobility as an aircraft. Their maximum speed is in no way inferior to the best fighter jets from around the world. And the powerful Gs that would normally put a harsh burden on them have been eased thanks to the anti-G 8MS in their bodies. This allows them to fly in ways pilots of existing aircraft could never even dream of. And when taken to an extreme, even ricochet flying is possible. AOU. The video changed scenes. A gauntlet knight, practicing in the skies above the training grounds, was being recorded from behind by a friendly plane in pursuit. One moment, the gauntlet knight was flying in the elegant, familiar way of a plane, and the next, its trajectory became complicated and bizarre, as if it was being bounced at odd angles like the diffused reflection of light. Because it looked like they were rebounding fiercely off the walls of a pipe as they flew, this was known as ricochet flying. As the word ricochet suggests, the Gauntlet Knight kept flying at fierce, sharp angles without losing any of their speed. Normally, flying like this would put enormous G's on their brain and all over their body, likely killing them instantly. However, 8MS Tech has freed them from all of the ground's restrictions. Even amazing mid-air movements like these are now possible. And I want you to pay close attention to this footage. This is a fire control system trying to target a Gauntlet Knight. As it tried to target the ricochet flying Gauntlet Knight, a computer-controlled sight indicator with prediction lines kept appearing and disappearing. The Knight's movement, which ignored the common sense of physics, confused the fire control system, and it was completely unable to lock onto its target. All fire control systems created so far were completely useless against Gauntlet Knights. Though they can display this level of mid-air mobility, Gauntlet Knights are not planes! They truly are infantry, aerial augmented infantry. Their ability to land and take off is completely unrestricted, so they can carry out tactical operations anywhere a human is able to stand. By this point, Gauntlet Knights already possessed all the strengths of fighter jets, VTOL aircraft, and helicopters. So then, what about their weaponry? You're probably thinking that, regardless of their mobility, they'll be completely useless if they don't have the firepower to take down their targets. But when it comes to Gauntlet Knights, that's an utterly needless concern. The Dimension Container System, brought about by cutting-edge 4DP technology, made it possible for a person to take massive arsenals of weapons and ammunition with them. The scene changed. A boy soldier who was apparently a Gauntlet Knight stood still in what looked like a vehicle service station. Set about him in a radial pattern were all sorts of weapons and ammunition, like a weapon bargain sale. There were rows and rows of missiles designed for fighter jets, just as many precision smart bombs, and even several heavy torpedoes designed for major warships. This was clearly more weaponry than your average fighter jet. Furthermore, there were howitzers and their ammunition laid out alongside them, as well as multi-barreled machine guns with ammo belts folded several times over. And that wasn't all. There were also reconnaissance drones, several types of signal flares, ammunition resupply containers, and various construction kits, with everything down to the slightest detail packed in. This massive set of military ordnance can all be carried by a single Gauntlet Knight. And if they specialize in carrying capacity, they can fit the same amount of weaponry as an attack carrier. Witness the armament of a battleship and the mobility of a fighter jet. This is a Gauntlet Knight. But that's not all. They also possess an ultimate technique that cannot be reproduced with any currently existing weaponry. Watch and learn. AOU. The scene changed, and it now appeared to be an outdoor shooting range. The same Gauntlet Knight boy soldier stepped forward. Several adult soldiers stood side by side some distance away, all pointing guns at him. Immediately after a whistle blow, the sound of gunfire and smoke rushed towards the boy, as though a bunch of firecrackers had been set off. That was it. Nothing happened. It was a bit of a letdown. Do you understand what just happened? Let's slow it down a bit. The same screen was replayed in super slow motion. Bullets really were launched from the soldiers' guns. However, they were all bounced back, along with a white glow, from a spot directly in front of the Gauntlet Knight. The next time a whistle blew, a soldier who had been lying prone and wielding a light machine gun sent a signal, then laid down a powerful barrage. It was so fierce, you could see what was happening clearly now, even without the slow motion. This is the invincible defense Gauntlet Knights proudly wield, the rejection shield. The scene changed again. The same soldier boy was standing in a different part of the shooting range, but this time, the camera was far away from him. After a countdown, the boy was swallowed up by a massive explosion like something out of a Hollywood film. But, when the flames disappeared, he was still standing there with a blank expression, as though nothing had happened. An invincible defense, and easy control over the skies, and the ability to use endless weapons at will. And every little bit of that is all compressed into a single Gauntlet Knight. In this new era, the numbers representing the military might of nations will surely shrink drastically. All we'll need to know is how many talented gauntlet knights each nation has. The screen changed several more times, showing various scenes of gauntlet knights training. Sometimes they led fighter jet formations, and sometimes they led aircraft carrier fleets. Then they landed jauntily on the ground, surrounded by a tank division. Come, boys and girls yearning to become defenders of peace. Wouldn't you like to join those who stand at the head of all militaries of peace, emblazing the way into a new era? The aerial augmented infantry awaits you. The moment you put a gauntlet on your left arm, you will become a gauntlet knight. Yeah, one of the things I did hear about this game was the hashtag children at war. That's like one of the only things I know, so that's awesome. Okay. Very nicely made. Do you think you could get it a bit shorter though? My back's starting to hurt. Oh. The old officer rose from a seat in the projection room, rubbing his back. A young, voluptuous female officer who seemed to be a private secretary helped him up. No, no, sir. We cannot make it any shorter in light of the regulations. Is that so? Very well, very well. By the way, kids like explosions, right? Bang, boom, and all that? We've got to add more flashy scenes. Also, the hook in the first 15 seconds is important, understand? I studied film back in the day, so I know all about it. When the old officer started talking proudly, the other officers all took out notepads at once and made a show of writing it down diligently. Okinogi! Hi. Hi. Knowers know. Look at this moronic video they've made. As if just putting a robot toy on your arm could turn anyone into a superhuman being. In the first place, these aerial augmented infantry things are still just theoretical. If it was just a portable system for individual flight wielded by specialist troops, that'd be realistic enough. But then you throw in one bit of ridiculous technology after another and call them gauntlet knights? What are they, superheroes from some American comic book? True, there weren't any lies in their cataloged specs. They could fly like fighter jets, carry weaponry like battleships, and set up invincible barriers like tanks. In that propaganda video, the brat looked like he was flying around happily. Still, the shock reduction provided by anti-G8MS isn't invincible. He did a bit too much ricochet flying, and after the shoot, the capillaries in his eyeballs ruptured, eventually rendering him unconscious. If only they'd filmed it in one take, he'd probably still be able to see. Even the dimension container, which worked like a 4-dimensional pocket, kept having issues. Just how many brats have been turned to mincemeat when they tried to open it up, and then immediately got hit by an explosion before they could fire up the rejection shields. Even that rejection shield had only become stable very recently. And if it doesn't work perfectly when a brat's flying at 800 kilometers an hour, all it takes is a lazily flying pigeon to smash their heads to bits. Well, we'll soon have plenty of brats to work with. Put up flashy ads that at least look good, and you'll find all the stupid kids you need. After all, anyone would want to do it. If I'd been in my teens and someone told me I could become the face of our entire military, flying unaided through the sky, I'd be screwed too. Still, a bird in the hand's worth 2 in the bush. In the end, it'll just be an e-sport, where you can't really fly outside the simulator. By the way, the aerial augmented infantry boy in this video really is young and bold. I'd like to get a chance to meet him. You think you could bring him to dinner tonight? Oh, that sounds excellent. Captain Okinogi. Major General, sir. I'm afraid to say that he's already perished in the line of duty. What? Is that true? What a shame. He looked magnificent, so I was hoping to give his career a boost. Too bad, too bad. Truth be told, that explosion scene in the video just now was also the scene of his death, Major General, sir. The filming schedule was a bit too rushed, so he must have been overworked. He screwed up with his shield during the flashiest scene at the very end. Thanks to that, we were forced to edit it to make it look like he'd survived a massive blast. God damn it, it's not like we've got the budget for this kind of thing. Sir, it's about time you went to your car. Oh, okay. Well then, keep up the good work, everyone. Also, everyone's eyes will be on the Aerial Augmented Infantry Division at the Battle Standard Festival, so make sure you give it your all. By the way, I believe a contestant from here in Japan will be representing the AOU, correct? Oh, city. I've seen you before. Yes, sir. It's Second Lieutenant Mitaki Miao of the 017th Aerial Augmented Infantry Squad Warcat. Meow. Damn it, if that skinny brat's supposed to be representing the Rising Sun at the International Battle Standard Festival, this world really is screwed. When they cry. 5. Ciconia, when they cry. Oh my gosh, we hit the menu. Okay, I don't know if there's anything else to talk about. I might play around with the settings a little bit, but interesting opening. Well, there actually aren't really many settings on this page, but let's start. Oh, I didn't see that. I wonder. Well, I'm sure we'll see it again eventually. Okay. Warning: this work was created in Japan in the year 2019. We cannot guarantee that possession of this work in the country you currently live in conforms to your country's current laws. Furthermore, if possession of this work results in any sort of damages, we cannot be held responsible for compensation. Additionally, distributing this work on the internet without the creator's consent is forbidden. You must agree to pay us 10 million Japanese yen if you break this rule. If you do not agree to take personal responsibility for owning and reading this work and the risks involved in doing so, we ask that you uninstall it immediately. This is a work of fiction. Any similarities to real individuals, groups, religions, all of creation, the will of the universe, plans of God, or Vatican document number 34 are entirely coincidental. This work does not approve of any specific ideology, nor does it represent the ideology of its creators. To all video uploaders, for the first page you must have permission to record and distribute videos up until the end of the 7th chapter, Poyo. I'll let you know when you get there, Poyo. Okay, I'll look into that. Ha ha ha. Poyo. Hello. The top of Super Tokyo Tower sat 666 meters above the ground. Surrounding it, the scenery of the night stretched as far as the horizon. The hustle and bustle of the surface didn't reach this place, nor did its troubles and complications. The sky is the only place we can be truly free. And there, atop the antenna mast at the peak of the tower, I stood. My fear of heights is now little more than a fond memory. Of course, that's not really such a great thing. In your everyday life, if you jump out a third-story window and seriously hurt yourself because you can't be bothered to go down a staircase, well, that's just a joke among people like us, but a pretty common one. Just to check, I glanced at my left arm. It was clad in a bulky contraption that resembled some piece of European armor. That device, which extended from my shoulder to my fingertips, was unsurprisingly called a gauntlet. Knowing it was there meant that I could relax and forget about the laws of physics. I let out a deep breath and gathered my wits. Then, I slowly extended my right foot into the black void, the nighttime sea. Gravity pulled on my entire body, and I slowly fell forward. I dove into the nighttime sea. The gentle change caused by gravity was soon accelerating me toward the ground at an incredible pace. I was in free fall, with the positions of heaven and earth swapped. A natural free fall, without any force field manipulation, feels the best. My body fell faster and faster. I can never get enough of this sense of acceleration. I was probably getting near the ground, but it felt as though I could sink forever into that black nighttime sea. Part of me wanted to wax poetic, but this was simple vertigo. The sum of my mental data, not including sight, left me fully aware of the speed and trajectory of my fall, as well as the surrounding terrain and the time to impact. The instant before I smashed into the asphalt of the Shuto Expressway, I kicked off the empty air, and the ballistic curve of my descent snapped into a right angle. In the vacant space I'd launched from, something blossomed, delicately bathed in white phosphorescence. They floated in the air, incredibly beautiful, almost as though an angel's feathers had been scattered about. Ciconia when they cry! Gravity no longer bound me. Though my body was that of flesh and blood, it now soared like a swallow. I'll glide so low, I'll be a hair's breadth away from scraping the asphalt off the Shuto Expressway. A train bridge came into sight before me. Across it raced one of those new steam engine locomotives that just debuted this year. The steam engine is synonymous with the economic revolution and kicked off a wave of technological advancement. It was also a first step towards mechanized technology. I doubt any of the great technological geniuses of the past would have expected it to make a comeback after the nuclear age. Of course, though it resembles an old steam engine, its operating principle is completely different. After coal, then oil, and then the atom, humanity got its hands on a new ultimate fuel. It was called spiritium. When spiridium engines convert energy, they expel large clouds of a mist that resembles water vapor. And so, the haze of countless spiridium engines' exhaust has become the mark of a massive city. I happily burst through the vapor billowing out of that steam locomotive. A forest of skyscrapers awaited me on the other side. All over were buildings with Victorian and Art Nouveau themed designs, like a scene out of the 19th century. The brick facades and spires were beautiful. The golden glitter of the brass steam pipes tangled over every surface was also gorgeous under the floodlights. There were also Japanese-style electric billboards interspersed throughout it. That slightly twisted, yet strangely appealing contrast was the essence of the Tokyo metropolis at night. The cityscape, style, and fashion sense were all reminiscent of the 19th century. However, behind the artistic veneer celebrating the rebirth of an economic golden age, lay state-of-the-art inventions that could fairly be called the ultimate in human tech. And at the cutting edge of that cutting edge, it had finally become possible for a flesh-and-blood human to fly like this. Of course, this power was only available to a few people so far. I was one of those lucky enough to enjoy this privilege. Every era and every society is fundamentally crap when you get right down to it. But there's one thing I can say. Being granted the ability to fly freely like this makes me glad I was born in this era. Being careful not to fly too high, I raced through the forest of skyscrapers and billboards. This felt way more like flying than staring down from above did. The newspapers keep saying we should cut down the number of electric billboards to avoid disrupting the city's scenery, but I kinda like this look. After all, Tokyo has looked like this since the day I was born. Why should I give a damn about the ancient Tokyo those adults long for so much? This is our Tokyo. As I continued to pick up speed, I slipped past billboards that stretched out over the road and seemingly competed with each other. Greater Tokyo Securities, Miu Spiridium, Yaoyorozu Life Insurance. Cure-alls from Machido. Mental displays by Fujix. Cat Karaoke Sushi Cosplay. Now get 101 super rare wheel spins free. Eisai Foodstuffs. Eat wisely, mighty soldiers of a rich nation. Snacks recommended by the National Defense Boys Club. Coca-Cola. The Coca-Cola brothers are the official sponsor of the International Battle Standard Festival of Peace. I glanced down and saw a gleaming swarm of cars blanketing a highway that wound through the downtown district. The exhilarating feeling of gliding right over all of them was by far the most primal part of the primal joy of flying. You know, you forget this feeling if you don't fly every now and then. It's only natural that flying through the air is exhilarating. Oh. At that moment, a little frog character hopped into the corner of my mental display. It was Cellcom's beloved mascot, Kero Pollo. Then, it made a mental announcement with that funny default voice. A friend has arrived, Pollo! Immediately, a friend started talking to me through my Kizuna. Who the heck's doing that? I'm busy focusing my mind by remembering my primal self. Well, I guess there's only one person it could be. I've also seen this guy. I hear they get along well. Okay, let's see. He reminds me of Clavier Gavin. What kind of voice? Oh, this is so exciting. I never get to, well, I don't know. What kind of voice should I do? Hey, taking a nice relaxed pleasure flight in a place like this? Leave me alone. I'll bet you haven't warmed up enough yet, huh? Well, Super Genius Jaden has come to play with you. Sheesh, you're such a pest. It was my annoying partner. He never leaves me alone, even when I'm trying to focus my mind in solitude. Yeah, warming up's important. For someone like you, at least. As if you didn't expect me to show up right about now. I'm flying for my own sake. It's not like I was waiting for you. You're such a cute tsundere, meow. Tsundere? What a pain in the ass. Okay, sure, I'm in. I don't want people blaming me if you screw up later on. Activating Dimension Container Pollo! So, are we using competition rules? Activating Reaper's Eye! Friendly unit, Jaden, located! Registering as hostile Pollo! Nah, we can leave it like this. You like this place, right? Crystal unit, Jaden, has activated its Reaper's Eye! We've been located, Pollo! Don't act like you're doing me a favor by saying that. We don't need a killjoy-like rules. Let's just go all out on each other. While we smack-talked each other, we both started circling the Miyu Spiridium building, hiding behind it. It blocked our line of fire, but in a gauntlet fight, cover like something from an infantry battle meant nothing. I'm actually gonna pause the recording for a second. I want to check to make sure the music volume is okay, because I think it got a little louder. 1 second. Okay, I turned it down a tiny bit. I also looked up about the recording. It seems like right now they allow uploading up until chapter 14. So I'll record all of it. Maybe if I upload this at all, I'll stop there. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't. Oh, let me unmute. Haha, hi. Yeah, I didn't turn it down that much. Let me turn my own volume down. Okay. Anyways, yeah, so we won't worry about it too much. I'll make sure it's okay, but don't worry, guys. Anyways, okay. Time to get started. Let's play. Whoa! Oh, wow. When Meow thrust out his right arm, a burst of luminous angel feathers danced around it, and one after another, guided missiles winked into existence. It looked like an ancient magician summoning familiars. The missiles launched one after another, circling around the building and aiming for Jaden on the opposite side. Then, not a beat later, Meow summoned into existence a massive 7-barrel Gatling gun, big enough that it covered his body. After all, just as Meow had launched guided missiles around the building, Jaden had launched missiles back at him. It's just, oh my gosh, it's the special sound. The missiles that appeared one after another from beyond the skyscraper were met by Meow's Gatling gun. They were rapidly caught by the hailstorm of bullets, exploding one after another, bursting the skyscraper's windows into glittering dust. The Gatling gun, which floated in the sky above Meow's right hand, was exactly like those loaded onto warships to defend against anti-ship missiles. These were supposed to weigh over 9 tons. However, it continued to float there over Meow's arm as if it weighed nothing at all. I see the way you're guiding your missiles is as twisted as ever, Meow. Jaden intercepted Meow's guided missiles, which had come flying around at him in the same way. If they had come flying via a traditional maneuver, aiming directly for their target, it would have been easy to intercept them. However, these two could control the flight paths of all the missiles they launched. For that reason, no computer could completely intercept a volley of their high maneuverability missiles as they approached along such complicated trajectories. The missiles were being guided by humans, so it took a human to intercept them. Your missiles are pretty twisted too! Duking it out with you would make anyone twisted! Whoa. They circled at high speeds, shooting down the missiles that chased them one by one. Naturally, both were simultaneously guiding missiles, intercepting them, and also controlling the speed and direction of their own flight. It would be impossible for a normal person to do all this at the same time. That's why Gauntlet Knights were admired by children. No, by people everywhere. In a battle between superhumans like this, how you fool your opponent is vital. Even games that appear to be completely intellectual, like chess and shogi, are eventually decided with a physical contest, depending on the glucose levels in your blood. They were being chased by swarms of missiles flying in complex trajectories, constantly intercepting them, while still firing missiles themselves and looking for a chance to corner their opponent. Doing so was brutally exhausting. And, the instant you gave your opponent an opening, they'd take advantage of it and end the whole thing. That was how a standard one-on-one fight between Gauntlet Knights went. So you think you can win if it's an endurance dogfight, huh? Don't forget, Meow. I know, you're a super genius, right? Yep, I'm Super Genius Jaden. Whoa. The next instant, Jaden scattered glowing feathers through the air as he changed his movement pattern. He turned at a right angle, heading straight towards the floor of the building. He burst through the massive glass windows and flew inside. The entire 58th floor of the Miu Spiridium building is a single observation deck restaurant! He raced through the empty restaurant, sending tables flying. While playing a fierce game of tag with guided missiles, Jaden had also been investigating. He had accessed the floor plans for the Miu Spiridium building that had been the center of their dogfight. The building screening with the two of them from each other had instantly become a shortcut. You little... I'm a super genius! Hear me roar! I don't know. I don't know if this is a good voice. I'll tweak it as we go. But oh Jaden, oh little Jaden, I like you so far. The entire building was pierced as he performed an all-out body slam backed by a force field. Despite that, Meow just barely managed to dodge. He kicked off the empty air and sent glowing feathers flying, changing his direction in a right angle and plunging straight down. Of course, Jaden hadn't been naive enough to hope that his surprise attack would land a clean hit. However, in dodging, Meow had been forced to make too sudden of a vector change, and the anti-G8MS in his body had used up almost all of its energy in an instant. Energy depleted! Beginning recharge, Poyo! Until you're fully recharged, you can't do anything at all, Poyo! Without any energy left, Meow lost all control and could do nothing but let himself free fall straight down. His energy would recharge soon, but in an extreme close combat situation like this, that pause would be utterly fatal. Jaden was looking down on him from above, in complete control. Their raw, unaugmented gazes crossed. Jaden swung his right arm down, scattering glowing feathers above as he summoned a 50 caliber heavy machine gun.
Enemy unit Jaden has achieved target lock. Energy recharge in progress. Evasive maneuver is highly recommended, Poyo. But too bad, Poyo Poyo. You're still recharging, so you can't do anything, Poyo Poyo. Oh, but even if you're in free fall, you can still pray, Poyo Poyo.
I'm sorry, Poyo Poyo.
Oh.
God damn it, this new version of Kero Poyo sure is an asshole. Gotcha. Meow. Ignition. Huh? Even when supplemented by the Reaper's eye system, which makes it oh my gosh, sorry guys, which makes it possible to observe the entirety of the surrounding area, people tend to focus on a single point when they get excited. In that instant, all other directions become blind spots for them. So, by the time he saw that, it was already right behind him. At exactly the time Meow made his emergency dodge downwards, he had summoned a missile directly above himself. He had just summoned it in midair, nothing more. It was merely a floating object, not guided or moving in any way. So, it had entered freefall, and was now right behind Jaden. However, it wasn't as though he hadn't given this missile any orders. It had just one. And that was to explode after a few seconds' delay. Wow. A massive explosion engulfed Jaden from behind. An instant later, pure white angel feathers were scattered all over the area in front of the blast. It was a sign that the rejection shield had blocked the explosion. A Gauntlet Knight wouldn't succumb to a little attack like that. They could fly about at will, arm themselves at will, and also shield themselves at will. It was an invincible shield usable only by Gauntlet Knights, who could perform a dressing conversion on Spiridium unaided. A rejection shield. They could extend it instantly, blocking any sort of attack. However, depending on the strength of the attack and whether the defender was taken by surprise, doing so could expend a massive amount of energy. You got me. As if I'd let you win a little trick like that. As if I'd let you win with a little trick like that. It had been a completely unexpected trap, and it had resulted in a blast to the back at extreme close range. Jaden had used up almost all of his energy in an instant. Triggering it at such close range would have taken you out with the shrapnel too, but you got me to put up my shield and block it. You really are crazy, awesome, and totally screwed up. Meow. Every time I'm just like, meow. Sending glowing feathers scattering with the last of his energy, Jaden rapidly accelerated towards Meow. And Meow, who was in freefall, waited for Jaden as he came to settle this. Jaden? Meow? Surrounded by dancing fragments of glass, glowing wings, and shrapnel from the blast, the two men with raised fists collided. Gotcha! As the pair descended in freefall, two punches containing all of their strength crossed. It was a cross counter. So, would they take each other out? No. The victor was clear. If you're short, that means your arms are short too. Right, Meow? Jaden's right straight definitely reached Meow's cheek, but Meow's right straight didn't make it. The difference in reach was obvious. Damn it! In the end, the showdown between Gauntlet Knight aces was decided not by wit, nor physical strength, nor glucose levels, but by height alone. Their energy was recharged and they regained control, rescuing them from the shackles of freefall. That was fun. I hate this right arm! It's saw! It's coming off! And I'll replace it with a rocket fist! Sweet, let me know when you do! I'll even give you special permission to punch me! That's a promise, okay? Don't you go forgetting it! Still, I'd expect no less from you, Meow. I thought I'd launched... Oh, I guess, yeah, this is narration. I give Meow a pretty high voice. I assume he's like a kid. I don't know, obviously it's like child war. So I'm like, they can't be that old, but I hope that's not, like, I don't know. Hopefully that's good too, but to me that one feels like that's just how he should sound. I don't know. Maybe later they'll be like, and then with his deep, rumbling voice, Meow said, but until then... I thought I'd launched the perfect sneak attack, but if it had been perfect, he wouldn't have been able to set a trap so quickly. I'll bet he figured I'd come at him through a shortcut and waited for me. I moved first, so I was able to make it through the chaos somehow, but if I'd been a heartbeat slower... Oh, this is... Yeah, I guess this is Jaden. Well, then all of that doesn't matter. I'll read it again, I guess. I thought I'd launched the perfect sneak attack, but if it had been perfect, he wouldn't have been able to set a trap so quickly. I'll bet he figured I'd come at him through a shortcut and waited for me. I moved first, so I was able to make it through the chaos somehow. But if I'd been a heartbeat slower, and if Meow had finished his preparations, I probably would have been taken out neatly. Not bad, partner. I may have won by a nose, but the battle's far from...
We let you win, obviously. I mean, you always get pissed when you don't win in the end. Naturally, I lost on purpose for the sake of your mental health. Huh? And I was trying to be a gracious winner too. No matter how you look at it, my trap worked perfectly and I won. In a real battle, it wouldn't end with a punch. And my recharge would have been at least 1 second sooner. Then, if it were a real battle, I would have blown you away with a force field and slammed you against the wall, winning. Ah, damn it! We almost closed out that scene so neatly, and now you've ruined it. Though he said this, Jaden laughed, looking somewhat amused. Meow wasn't really the sore loser he sounded like. They had both just been scuffling and playing. And look, now he's smiling too. However, his expression transformed utterly a second later. But you know what? That was way too reckless, putting your body on the line with a sudden sneak attack like that. In a real battle, we would have taken each other out. Or you might have hit the building and blown yourself up. Aren't you supposed to be a super genius? Then don't fight in a way that'll end in a mutual kill with both you and a super normal enemy. Oh my gosh. I know that. We were playing, so I just had a bit of fun, okay? And that's not all. The paths of those first suppression missiles were too simple. You keep getting stuck in a pattern without twisting it up a bit. And you wasted time when intercepting missiles. Your trajectory when dodging was weak too. Just look at the trajectory data 3 seconds after you started intercepting missiles. What a pointless maneuver. Get rid of the loss from this part, and you would have had enough energy to finish me off in the final clash. And look at the trajectory data from 23 seconds later, 24.2 seconds later. Make gravity and inertia your friends instead of wasting your anti-G8 MS. Hey, are you listening to me, Super Genius Jaden? Great, here comes lecture mode, Meow. Meow sent him bits of battle action data one after another, marked with red annotations. At first, wait. Okay, they love doing this, switching who's narrating and stuff. I assume right now, this is Jaden again. At first, I thought this guy was so annoying, acting like he was my instructor or something. However, when he lectures people, he's definitely not letting his emotions get the better of him. The things he points out are always accurate. And most importantly, he really does watch people. Normally, in a fight, you only think about how you're gonna take down your opponent, about how super strong you'll be when you win, right? Meow is always watching his opponent when he fights. Always thinking. It might sound weird when I put it this way, but he's always seriously thinking about his opponent's feelings. However, the way you demonstrated parallel thinking by searching for a way to strike back while playing tag with missiles wasn't bad. You used evasive maneuvers to gain yourself a moment of time to stockpile your mental resources, which you then employed effectively. Judging by your level of strain, you minimized the amount of unused mental resources throughout the fight. Well, it's not like I can leave any of my brain unused in a fight against you, Meow. See? He really does look closely at his opponent's feelings. He may never miss it when someone gets clumsy or screws up,
But he also never misses it when people work hard. I tried, in my own way, to make use of the precious advice he gave me in our previous match, and it looks like he really noticed. You tried, in your own way, to confront the problems you had the last time we fought. That's what makes you a super genius, Jaden. Nice work. Damn it. Why the hell am I blushing at a compliment from a guy? Oh, brother. You guys. No, we know. We all know. I'm so happy for them. Okay. This is why I've never had any desire to quit being your buddy.
Friend has arrived, Poyo! A friend has arrived, Poyo! A friend has arrived, Poyo! A friend has arrived, Poyo!
Then, sorry, I was too distracted by the yaoi. Then, sorry. Then, my Kizuna's Keropoyo notified me that a bunch of friends had arrived at once. Sheesh, can't you let the two of us flirt alone in peace? Oh, hello! Hello! Hello? Okay, let's see. Seriously? Just when you should be trying to preserve your sugar levels, you start up an all-out battle? We didn't do much. Just a bit of a warm-up. Right? That's right. Just a bit of light stretching. Your blood sugar levels don't agree.
Friendly unit Lilha has registered as hostile. Friendly unit Oshka has registered as hostile.
Oh, hello everyone. So many. Who would have guessed we'd find a couple kitties playing in a place like this? Meow. Well, this looks like a place worth smashing. So many new people. Hey, Lilha, Kushka, stop that! This is no time for a battle! How did she say that out loud? I won't forgive you for having fun in a place like this while we were getting bored to tears by that ceremony. Meow, mew, mew, meow. I was so bored. Time to blow off some steam to make up for it. Let's see who can take down the others first, meow. There's no way I'd ever lose to a hick like Koshka, meow. Don't make me laugh. I'll take on you and all the others and crush you. Sorry, I'm like, there's so many new people to keep track of. Go ahead and do it if you can. I'll beat up Meow and Jaden and plant you upside down in the Siberian permafrost. Meow meow.
Enemy units Lilha and Koshka have activated Reaper's Eye. You have been targeted, Poyo. Enemy unit Lilha is summoning an anti-air mine dispenser, Poyo. Enemy unit Koshka is summoning an anti-gauntlet sniper rifle, Poyo.
Hey, just stop it already! The instructor's gonna get mad at me!
Odds of Chloe getting chewed out by the instructor now at 99%, Poyo. Kiddo.
I can't take this anymore! Good grief. Meow, Jaden, are you sure such a light warm-up was enough for you? No, I was just thinking it was time for a real warm-up. Right, Meow? Yeah. This time, let's check our ability to work as a team. If you take a gamble like last time, I really will punch you, okay? Sure, I'll just wait for you to get a rocket fist that can actually reach my face. Then it's decided. Chloe, we should warm up a little too.
The friendly unit Gunhild has registered as hostile.
What?
No!
She's nice.
Friendly unit Gunhild has initiated AMS surveillance and is now providing data to friendly units Poyo. Enemy unit Chloe has begun accessing Super Tokyo Tower's anti-air cannon Sakura 1 and Asagawa 1, Poyo.
She may try to hide it, but Chloe's totally on board with this.
Just let me take all of you out! Instructor, none of this is my fault!
I'll happily totally take first strike, meow. I'm gonna eat everything up, not gonna leave a scrap for Koshka. If you try my target lineup, I'll skewer you. Do it if you can, meow meow. Here they come. Let's go, meow. Yeah, I'm so fired up. I couldn't care less about that Battle Standard Festival of Peace.
It wouldn't be fun any other way, Poyo. Okay, ready? Fight, Poyo!
Whoa. Whoa, it's the opening! Oh my gosh! So exciting! I have seen this. It goes very hard. Oh, baby. That was awesome. Okay, I'm gonna pause for just a second and be right back. Okay, I'm back. No matter how far virtual reality advances, it will never compare to the shock of the body's 5 senses. Suddenly, all 5 of the audience's senses were struck by an ear-splitting roar that rumbled down to the pit of their stomachs, as well as other sensations like the smell of iron and oil mixed together. Just now, 5 shiny silver fighter planes passed right over us, dancing through the sky above the International Battle Standard Festival of Peace at Gifu Stadium. Flying at their head was this year's host, Japan of the Arctic Ocean Union. On either side were fighters from the Europe-Middle East Alliance, the Central Ocean Union, the Africa Commonwealth Realm, and the Latin American Treaty Organization. That was a joint flight of fighters from the 5 great factions. Just magnificent. What a fitting ceremony for the Battle Standard Festival of Peace. These warriors of peace have honed their skills day and night to defend peace on this planet, and the crowd can't get enough of them. Let there be eternal peace in this world. And thank you, warriors of peace, for supporting the walls of peace from both sides yet again today. The walls of peace will surely crumble if not supported from both sides. James F. Kennedy. This is what we call Dobnik's barrel, or sometimes Kennedy's powder keg. After saying this, the instructor wrote Kennedy's powder keg on the electronic blackboard behind him, and an illustration that resembled a keg appeared. Both the letters in the illustration were drawn very poorly, and the students all giggled. The instructor was teaching while walking amongst the students' seats, his hands clasped behind him. Though the blackboard was far away from him, he was directly drawing and writing on it. He was using a brainwave input device, also called a mental tablet. Once, we needed hands to manipulate the writing tools, keyboards, and equipment needed to leave records. However, humanity in this world had gained the ability to not only write letters, but even draw pictures without using their hands. However, no matter the device, only the young can use it to full capacity when it's brand new. So, the aged instructor still wasn't used to it, leading to these rough letters and drawings that didn't suit his high upbringing and education at all. As you can see, the keg is a cylindrical container made of several boards bound together. Since my drawing is so pathetic, I ask that all of you who lack an imagination do an image search. If you can have a tablet in your if you can have a tablet in your brain, then of course you can have a display there too. Some of the more serious students did a serious search for the word keg, which was displayed as an image inside their brains. Those less serious were using their mental displays to watch TV, play games, or else chat with their friends in virtual rooms. Nearby people had no way of telling what someone was looking at in their mental display. Also, if you wanted to chat with your friends, there was no need to move your mouth. You could use mental transmissions to talk without speaking. And so, both the serious and non-serious students gave birth to an ideal environment for themselves. Kennedy's powder keg represents the gunpowder of conflict, sealed in a container where the military efforts of each individual country form the boards. Then, oh my gosh, sorry. Then, a red line was drawn on the picture of the keg on the blackboard, and one of the boards was removed, leaving a gap. However, what if just one board was short and left a gap? Naturally, everything inside the keg would pour out. Kennedy's powder keg tells us that if even a single country fails in its military efforts for the sake of peace, the gunpowder of conflict will pour out from there and explode. Once, military power had been necessary to protect the safety of one's nation. In every nation, and every era, young people who take on the responsibility of protecting their country have been praised for their patriotism and service to the state. They're like white blood cells in the human body, and no one ever finds anything odd about praising them. However, after massive losses caused by 2 world wars and a Cold War brought about by nuclear weapons, and particularly after the advancement of data storage techniques that allowed the inhumanities of war to be seen far and wide, over and over again, some of humanity had developed what might be called a war allergy. Then, when the Great Depression at the end of the 21st century kicked off a fierce economic downturn, people in countries around the world started talking seriously about reducing military spending. Taking advantage of that, pacifists began a major global campaign. That movement received an international tailwind, gaining heavy support from people across the world, made poor by a social security system that had been crushed by the Depression. This is all very interesting. I'm like taking it all in, so I'm not saying much about it, but I don't know, I'm just like, okay, I see little world building details. Hello. Certain politicians played to the masses and rode this tailwind, building up bases of support all over the planet. They spoke pleasant-sounding words of world peace and love for all humanity, leading the charge for unilateral disarmament in certain countries and earning wide acclaim. All over the world, videos were shared of soldiers returning their medals and leaving the army, claiming that being a soldier was a shameful way to serve one's country. The first few who started this boom were praised by the press, and many clamored to have them nominated for the Bernhard Peace Prize. The whole world praised this as a beautiful story, one that would encourage all who suffered under the Great Depression. Every day, the news told stories of countless soldiers leaving armies as an act of self-criticism against the military, to the applause of the people. And it delighted in showing stories of tanks and fighter jets being scrapped, giving the numbers for how much that had saved in construction and maintenance costs, and comparing that to how many babies could be fed with the same funds. It was a global disarmament boom. If all neighboring countries had reduced their militaries at the same time, this would have been a wonderful thing. However, as the prisoner's dilemma suggests, any of you guys played Zero Escape? Strategies that baselessly assume that your partner will act with benevolence are less than ideal in affairs between nations. This resulted in an extremely tilted military balance across several national borders around the world. At the time, national leaders who disarmed unilaterally were lauded as pioneers of world peace and given several international awards. However, in the current A3W era, their reputation had done a 180. They were condemned for abandoning their support of the walls of peace that separated countries, and accused of the sin of negligence in their duties toward world peace. Provide a deterrent to arms races and security dilemmas while enshrouding the gunpowder of war by maintaining a suitable military balance between all countries. This is the philosophy of the IPMA, the International Peace Mediation Association. And it is how a healthy military balance preserves world peace. World War III had several causes, but some likened it to a human body, where a nutrient imbalance had triggered a great illness. Classic World War III. That led to the concept of world peace preserved by a healthy military balance. For example, Japan once polished rice because it tasted better that way, which led to vitamin deficiency and a disease called beriberi. They removed the bad-tasting bran, but they didn't realize that it contained vital nutrients. That bran was like military might. True, military might does have a violent and inhumane side to it. Any humanitarian would claim that it tasted bad. However, when they polished it off and threw it away, it resulted in a fatal nutrient deficiency for certain nations. When military might only exists on some sides and not on others, it's easy to enter an irreversible situation. It was like trying to climb a mountain without a safety line. You'll be fine as long as nothing happens, but if something unexpected occurs, there won't be anything left to support you. One of World War III's other causes, populism, led to increasing friction between neighboring countries and placed a lot of pressure on border regions. That wouldn't have been a problem if those borders, those walls of peace, had been supported on both sides. However, whenever one side refused to support these walls, they fell over easily, inviting a situation that couldn't be undone. Military might is an element that tastes bitter to humanity. We have chosen to view it as a mineral, a micronutrient necessary for the body to function. Everyone knows that if you pile up zinc and iron and manganese on a table and eat it, it'll be harmful to your health. However, these are essential nutrients that you can't afford to be deprived of, and you need to continue ingesting them in suitable quantities. In the same way, a nation's military might needs to be maintained to a suitable degree to bring about healthy relationships between countries. Or so they say. As a result, military might was viewed in a different light in the A3W era as a micronutrient for nations. The tendency to think of soldiers as murderers and enemies of peace was done away with. After all, soldiers of your country were fundamentally war buddies, even to soldiers in neighboring countries, as they all worked together to support the walls of peace. I'm gonna take a drink of water. Hold on, guys. I also saved the game, and then I advanced the text one forward, but don't worry. You didn't miss anything. The social rank of soldiers rose, and the world became one in which children didn't hesitate to say they wanted to become soldiers when they grew up. Soldiers no longer existed for the purpose of defeating their opponents. They were redefined as servants of international peace, who protected not only their own country, but also their country's neighbors. They supported the walls between countries, preparing for unexpected situations in nearby nations that even those nations wouldn't have wanted, and preventing them from developing into something irreversible. Even the closest spouses and friends fight sometimes. Soldiers who supported the walls of peace were like cushions wedged in the middle of fights like that, preventing a fatal situation from developing, so that everyone could laugh it off and forgive each other in the end. Oh, hello. Tojiro. Humans really are crazy, huh? Seisha? I think that's Seisha? Think so? Two people who looked very different from those students watched this lecture through their mental displays. They seemed to be amusing themselves with it, rather than attending it. I mean, whenever organisms gather together, it's to increase their chances at survival, right? In other words, they gain enough military might to protect themselves against outward foes. Isn't rejecting something like that basically sacrilege against the miracle of life on this planet? No, no, no. I wasn't trying to criticize people for praising strong militaries. Oh, you weren't? Then what are you trying to say? I don't care if you criticize or praise militaries. As you said, Grandmaster, military power is a natural right you have as a life form to increase the odds of your survival. And it's also a natural obligation you have for the sake of protecting your descendants who can't protect themselves. But at the same time, it's also a double-edged sword that can hurt both you and your neighbors. So, whether you criticize it or worship it, you should always continue debating and searching for a better way to exist. So, the most important thing is having people debate all the time? Isn't debate just a means you use to reach an end? I doubt you can guide the common man if your means become your ends. True, debate can easily lead to wasting time. It's not a great idea to gradually work out a solution when you've got an urgent and pressing issue to deal with. I'm just trying to explain how unpleasant these extreme changes are, and how it's just as unpleasant when nothing changes at all. Right up until World War III, military might was viewed as evil. Their culture was such that every politician, philosopher, musician, and artist went on and on about love and peace, and how they needed to throw away their weapons because militaries were the shame of humanity. It was a world where even whispering about the need for military power on social media would be enough to get someone accused of blasphemy against peace and socially murdered. However, even though humanity disliked military might, that didn't mean they'd abandoned their dislike for other races. As a result, the door to World War III was opened not by militaries maintained by nations, but by selfish military actions by individual people with self-righteous ideals. I'm struggling over what kind of voice to give this guy as well. He kind of looks like someone from Higurashi, but I don't know if that's intentional. But let me think for a second. And now that's totally flipped around, with everyone saying, "Long live the military. Thank you, troops. I'm gonna grow up to be a great soldier who protects this country and world peace." Yeah, that is pretty extreme. Hilarious, in fact. And now, if you imply that militaries are immoral in any way, the whole world will call it blasphemy against peace and ostracize you. At first, it seems to be the exact opposite of what they did before, but they're basically doing the same thing. Differing opinions are aggressively silenced, and no one has the guts to actually discuss the issue. The mind of the masses is like a single bit of data. You mean it can only ever be 0 or 1? Yeah, that's it. Are you on the far right side or the far left? They can't see anything besides that. And because that's all their mind can hold, they aren't capable of debate, and they aren't receptive or clever enough to accept a position that's different from theirs. If you want to strengthen that one-bit person, then there's no choice but to train them, right? I'll bet the training would be pretty harsh for those one-bits. By training the one-bits, they must have meant the act of letting differing opinions collide in debates. However, no matter which time period you look at, history doesn't record many people capable of tolerating different opinions in the name of diversity. Whether it's religions, ideologies, or how you like your eggs cooked, the world is full of people incapable of accepting diversity. After all, even people who claim to be for diversity are unable to accept the existence of people who dispute that belief. It's not at all an easy thing to do. People crowd together with those who share their own views, exterminating all opposing views. That's what debate means to humanity now, as it approaches the 10 billion person mark once again. Interesting. It's been like this since before the time of Rome. Sometimes, kings urge their subjects to take part in debate. However, the one-bits never managed to count to anything but 0 or 1. Still, in my opinion, if you stop thinking and debating, you aren't even human anymore. Interesting. You really are a warrior. A warrior. You really are a warrior, aren't you? Very well, I shall grant you the title of 8-bit. You honor me, Grandmaster. The people can't do anything but advance in a direction that's been decided for them. Showing people where to go is what a king does. If you're waiting for the common man to gain enough intelligence to take part in debate, I'm afraid the sun will probably burn out first, right? Even so, I want to have faith in people. What if people didn't get kicked around by the consensus, going forward when they say forward, stopping when they say stop, and going left and right when they tell you to? What if everyone could have their own opinions, debate them together, and accept each other? And what if then you looked around and saw that everyone accepted everyone else, and that everyone was moving in the same direction? I hope a miracle like that will occur someday. It might not happen. Maybe this is this guy narrating. It might not happen until the day before the sun burns out and the globe is covered with ice. But I believe we will make it in time. Drat, Mizoguchi lost. Come on, isn't judo supposed to be Japan's specialty? Last year, a powerful harassment scandal threw the association into chaos. Guess this means I win. Several numbers appeared in their virtual space, and the numbers on Seishat's side decreased and were added to Tojiro's side. This time, they were watching a broadcast of the International Battle Standard Festival of Peace. It was a celebration of peace, where countless young people displayed the techniques they had honed and the hard work they had put in for the sake of this day. However, to the middle-aged people casually gazing at it, it was merely something to complement a drink or to bet on. Wow, it's the end of the chapter! Well, maybe that's a good place to stop. So, thank you, and I'll hopefully see you next time.